Hello and welcome to the CX Files for July 9th, 2026. My name is Mark Hillary and I'm in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
And I'm Peter Ryan, back in Canada. And Mark, great to be with you. Great to be able to catch up in the middle of the summer months, at least here in North America.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Well, it's in the 20s here, so it's not too bad for winter.
I love it. I love it. Well, listen, Mark, great to catch up with you. And it's great to be able to talk about something that's really cool that's popped onto my radar and that I thought would be well worth having a discussion on the CX files. Now, listeners will maybe remember an interview that I conducted with Tug Smith, who is with ATAC, a work from home company based in Canada a few years ago. In fact, I think it was 2019. Tugs called that out. Well, her and her husband Adrian have evolved the offering of ATAC, not just in terms of the provision of home-based agents, but also what they've done is they've developed a system of accreditation. Now, this accreditation is for agents that are working remotely. It's, to my knowledge, the first of its kind anywhere in the world. And what this effectively does, it provides each individual agent that's looking for the accreditation a series of simulations that they can go through in order to make sure that even if they're coming to the table with the right qualifications, that they're going to be able to manage complex, difficult interactions and do it to a very high standard. What I think is cool about this also is the fact that this is vendor agnostic. So once the agent obtains this qualification or the certification or accreditation or whatever you want to call it, this carries through with them throughout the course of their career. So it's something that they can take to multiple vendors that they can use, whether on the outsource side or on the captive side. But it's something that I think validates an individual who's coming to the table that wants to do work in a customer service capacity, and it's one that shows that they've been able to show that they have the mettle to do so.
Does this include the training itself as well then to actually get the agents through the accreditation?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So there's a whole series of different components that they've got to go through in order to get the accreditation. And what I think is important about this is in an era right now where we know that service levels are bad, we've talked about the fact that the different customer service indices around the world aren't doing too well right now. By our own research at Ryan Strategic Advisory, the research that we've done recently, the global technology and I'm sorry, the CX Technology and Global Services Survey has shown that overwhelming numbers of businesses are saying that their own service levels are stagnating or declining over the course of the past 12 months. Having agents that have got a certification that are able to come to the table and indicate that they aren't just qualified maybe from an academic standpoint, but they've proven it using this accreditation process, I think is a fantastic move in the right direction in terms of raising these service standards.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we know that just because you've got a qualification from university, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can handle customers in a real-time live situation. So this is a great idea.
This sure is. So I'm going to recommend that we head on over to Canada's CX dynamic duo, Tugs and Adrian Smith, and find out a little bit more about what they put together and how it can be adapted to all sorts of different contact centers anywhere in the world. This week's CX Files is incorporating a discussion with two friends, two longtime friends who are not too far from me. I'm based in Montreal, as everybody knows. Tugs and Adrian Smith are based in beautiful Oshawa, Ontario, or as we like to call it, Poshawa, Ontario, just to the east of Toronto. Now, Tugs is the CEO of ATAC Global CX, and Adrian is the co-owner and vice president of ATAC Global CX. Now, I've had ATAC on my radar for a number of years now. It's one of the most disruptive in a positive way outsourcing firms, CX services providers that you would find anywhere. But Tugs and Adrian, it's great to have you both on the CX files.
Thank you. Thank you for having us, Peter.
Thanks for having us, Peter. Always great to get a chance to talk to you.
Well, the feeling is mutual. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is your first time on the podcast, isn't it?
Well, I was on in 2019, actually,
That's what
but
I
this is
thought.
Adrian's first time.
Okay, so I was half right. I got 50%.
Correct. You got half of
Okay.
us.
Yeah, if I'd gotten half of the, say, test scores right in high school, I'd have been a very happy person. But funny how things have a way of working out. Listen, we're here today to talk to you both a little bit about an initiative that you've brought forward recently, and that is, for an acronym standpoint, the CRSA. Can you tell us a little bit about what the CRSA actually is?
Sure. So I'll take the lead on this one. The CRSA, it stands for Certified Remote Service Agent, and it's the first of its kind. It's blockchain verified professional credential built specifically for remote CX workforce. So it proves an agent is ready to handle a real customer from home, basically in their home environment. And it does it with proof. It's not just a claim, it's not just a
Mhm.
line on a resume. So we're pretty excited about it.
I really like the idea, Tugs. And a question for both of you. And Adrian, maybe I'll toss it to you because I have a feeling you might have an interesting answer around this one. Where
Sure.
did the idea come from?
Well, we first designed had this project designed in 2019. After years of running remote CX teams and hitting the same wall over and over again, which was onboarding or was not as trustworthy, and there was no trustworthy way to prove a remote agent was ready to take actual calls.
Hmm.
Then, unfortunately, in 2020, as you're aware, I had a serious motorcycle accident, and it kind of stopped everything in its tracks. So we didn't get much traction on that particular project. While I was recovering from my head injury in late 2025, I started seeing a new direction for the project in the BPO space. And cleaning up my office, I found the original 2019 flyer of that remote certification program. And that one piece of paper reignited the whole thing, and it became the rebirth of ATAC Global CX and the certification program. And that's where we are today.
What's interesting to me is, and look, you guys have been a part of the remote working world for long as I can remember. And something that immediately strikes me is the rhetoric that you hear from a lot of organizations that, well, you don't need to worry about remote agents because they tend to be better skilled, they tend to have more education, they tend to have work experience and so forth. But the reality is, if you were hitting a wall and you saw the need to develop something like the CRSA, then it's got to be the case that other organizations are facing that same challenge when looking to try and find either hybrid or fully remote based workforces.
Exactly, because Peter, let's face it, like remote CX, it's permanent. It's a
Yeah.
large share of the global workforce now. It's not just like a pandemic stopgap, like many of us or many people sort of thought in the beginning. So hiring is borderless. It's you're hiring people sight unseen, and a lot of times there's a resume, they have a good interview, and you get them into a training class and they can't handle it. And there's
Yeah.
churn, or you get them
Yeah.
onto the phones, or you get them handling emails, and they just can't handle the actual work, even though they're polished. They have great professional training from other industries, but we need to know who can really cut it. Where are we going to save money on hiring, retraining, things like that, on churn, on attrition? And we feel that this is definitely going to be the tool to accomplish that.
But what I love about what you're talking about is you're saying that there's people out there that do have the qualifications and the raw talent, but being able to cut the mustard, if I can use a colloquialism, on the telephones or in a digital interaction in a real life scenario, that's a very different thing than to having a great resume.
100% correct. That's what we found.
100%. I agree with you because in our own experience, we even found that. And as you said, a lot of people think remote agents, they have these great resumes, professional folks who are staying at home. But at the end of the day, what it really comes down to is who can do the job. And that's why we've designed this based on these 5 core domains that we want to make sure that we evaluate, and we give a certification to say that they are hitting the mark in professionalism, communication, CX operations, technology, health and safety, compliance, the things that really do genuinely matter.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm glad that you enunciated what those elements were, Tugs, because you anticipated my question there. Very, but very pertinent and very thorough, I think, across the board in terms of what you guys are describing. Now, let's talk a little bit about the accreditation and the certification. How does it work? What would an agent need to do in order to be accredited using the system that you've developed?
Well, first of all, I want to make it clear that the accreditation is earned, not bought. A
Yeah.
candidate proves their competency in two ways. They go through a written assessment and a live voice call. And only once those two things are completed is their credential issued and locked in on the blockchain. So there's three elements. There's three main elements, and one is a knowledge assessment. It's 40 questions across the five core CX domains that Tugs just mentioned as well. There's the ATAC call readiness simulator, and that's a live voice-based call simulation. The candidate handles a realistic scenario, um, a frustrated double-charged billing customer, scored across five denominations: professional greeting, empathy, resolution clarity, tone, and how they close that call. Um, Once they have passed both scenarios, then that accreditation is issued onto the blockchain, and it cannot be faked, and there's no expiration on the trust of that accreditation.
One thing I'm going to add to that, Peter, is myself being the test dummy and the pleasure of right now where we're sitting in 2026 and the technology that we have access to and we have our hands on. The questions are never the same. No
Mhm.
two agents are going to be taking the exact same evaluation of 40 questions. They
Yeah.
can't tell their friends, hey, here's the answer, here's a score sheet, here's a cheat sheet. I've taken this thing over and over again, and I've never taken the same evaluation twice. The live assessment with the live customer, that customer is responsive. The technology that we have, the proprietary technology that we designed, has it that it's a reactive system. It's all, no matter what the agent says, it's going along with that conversation. So I feel like it's really powerful because though we're evaluating all of the agents on a level playing field, no two agents are taking the same course. So we have the security of the blockchain, but we also have the security of knowing that based on their skills, they were able to successfully pass and earn this accreditation. So I'm pretty proud of that.
And I think you should be. And I like the fact that this is dynamic, that this is randomized, because look, I think we can all remember back in school. You remember they used to have the quizzes in
Yes,
math, and you could go to the back of the book and they would have the answers. And
Yes.
exactly.
sometimes the teachers would actually give those tests and they didn't think that the students knew that the answers were in the back of the book. Well, it's very easy to get around things, but nowadays it's a lot more challenging, and I think that it should be, because if you're a brand and you are looking to try and have the best people representing your brand, being ambassadors, having an individual that can think on their feet, that understands the processes, the technologies, elements of the brand that they're supporting. The only way that you're going to be able to test for that is through a process like you're describing, and making sure that people are on their toes, that the brand ambassadors are ready to handle literally any possible question. You can't have a situation where it's going to be the same exam everybody's doing all the time.
Exactly, 100%. Because we want to figure out, we want to map this great remote agent. We want to know, how do they carry themselves? How do they communicate? How do they solve problems? How do they use tools? How do they protect the customer's data? Because regardless of your background, these are the core skills that you need to have in place to do this job well, and especially from home. So
Mhm.
these are the things that we're testing for. And then, as I said, I'm going to keep saying I'm super proud of this certification.
Well, you absolutely should be. This is a great program, and I think it's something that the industry has been crying out for some time. But there's one thing that I will touch on. Both of you were at CX Outsourcers
Yes.
along with myself a few weeks ago, and you'll recall that more than one person, more than one presenter talked about the need for as much depth and niche specialization as possible. So if I'm say, a company involved in the fintech space or healthcare or digital enterprise or maybe media, is there a way of tailoring the tool to make sure that there's as much vertical specific testing or vertical specific elements to it to make certain that an individual is not just good in terms of the CX side, but also understanding the industry?
There is, but the key to this, because there's so many tools that are already sort of drilling down in certain verticals, the key to this is to ensure that the certified agent, they're certified on their skills, not just a script, not just their product knowledge, and things that can transfer across every vertical. So the communication, the empathy, de-escalation, the judgment, things like that, right? So we use, for example, in our simulation, we use a billing complaint as a test scenario. And the main reason for that is because it's the single most common real world interaction. It's stressful and it can cover all five dominants at once. But if there is specifically a banking, healthcare, retail, travel, or utilities, we could definitely work with an industry partner to have questions that drill down into their specific vertical.
I really think that that's important, that
Yeah.
there is this degree of flexibility, because let's be perfectly frank, Tugs, you brought up the idea about a billing question. You're right, they're stressful. And as a consumer that has been many times on the telephone trying to deal with a billing question, I feel for the individual on the other side. But now
Yes,
there's so many different components of billing that are specific to an industry.
exactly.
You don't think, what's probably the most common billing issues that people come up with? Telco, I would suggest, would probably be a top one. Utilities would be another one.
Yes.
So you've really got to have a good level of understanding as it relates to things like data consumption or energy consumption.
Right.
Exactly. And with our simulator, what we do is before the simulation starts, we actually give them just an overview. This person will be calling for, this is the industry you're covering, and just a little bit of information about that industry so that person can proactively have these conversations with a little bit of knowledge. We're not throwing them into the simulation blindly, but
Mhm.
that also gives us the option that if we were working with a partner and they said, you know what, we want to apply this to 50 of our new team members, and we'd like it to be focused on whatever billing issue we just trained them on, are you able to adjust the program? 100% we can. There's space to do that.
So let's talk at the macro level here. Why should a business running their own contact center or captive, or I'm sorry, not their contact center, but running remote agents or an outsourcer that's got a remote element to it, why should they be looking to agents that are certified?
I mean, I guess the main reason is because it turns hiring from a gamble into a verified decision. It does it in seconds, and anyone can claim their agents are great, but the CRSA holder can prove it, and the employer can verify it without taking anyone's word for it. So there is a verified section on our website where if an agent provides you with their ID, you can verify the credentials valid and verify their score and how they performed during that process. That's available to the employer or to whoever's doing the recruiting of that particular agent. That's free and available to them. It's a faster, lower risk hiring. And instead of trusting a resume and a short interview, you get a standardized, verified signal that an agent can handle a live call. Verifying the credentials, like I said before, verifying the credentials takes seconds, and that's how we kind of structured it, where there's a lot less resistance in validating or verifying an agent that you're recruiting.
And I would add something. Let's be frank. If you're in the BPO industry, if you're in the service industry, your goal is to win your RFPs. Your goal is to come out green at the end of the fourth quarter. So saying that there is a standardized way of evaluating agents and you can put that on your RFP that, hey, I have a team of 100 or 200 reps that have been independently certified. And I can provide you with a way to verify those credentials could put your RFP at the top of the pile versus someone who just has internally trained agents that are writing an RFP telling a potential customer to trust the system, right? So thinking as a BPO owner, that's the way that I would look at it. I would say, okay, here's an opportunity for me to present well when I'm trying to attract more business. So from the agent standpoint, they own that certification, it follows them. From a BPO standpoint, you can confirm that your folks are independently certified with a global standard. So that's the importance, the global standard for me.
And it makes me think as well that from an employability perspective, this is going to raise the value of an agent. They're going to have a much, not just an easier time maybe finding employment, but it'll be a more straightforward time.
Yes. And that's kind of where, like, I guess when we started ATAC in the beginning, it was how do we support the agent, give the agent something that they can utilize and feel good about, not just getting them a position with a particular client, but long term, if that relationship does not work out, they can now take this with them on their journey for looking for another role somewhere else as well.
We started on the floor of the contact center or call center back then. So we have the benefit of understanding what it is to be on the floor, be in operations, be in workforce, be in every area before we owned a BPO. So we took all of that knowledge, and our core function is always how do we support our team? Because regardless of how awesome your company is, your people is what makes you awesome. So how do we support the people? And I think this satisfies that.
Well, this has been really, really interesting. And I want to finish off with a question that you might have some visibility on. Based on what you've seen so far, how do the agents like the certification? How do they like the process? How do they like being certified? Have you had feedback from the team members themselves?
We've had feedback. We have some folks who have actually gone through from beginning to end, and the feedback is amazing. They feel like it felt like a university level exam at a price that didn't block entry. There was no block to entry. We've gotten compliments on the simulator. The simulator is a lot of folks' favorite part, getting through that, because our customers that we have in the simulator, they're quite challenging. So, and the 40 questions as well, they're head scratchers. They're not generic questions, they're head scratchers, and they truly will highlight your skills. And at the end, they get a report that shows them areas they want to work on, and no one's been surprised by their results. Everybody's kind of been like, yeah, you know what? This has captured me, and this is something that a team leader has said to me in the past, or this is something that we're going to work on. So
just to add to that, some of the feedback that I've gotten is at the end of the certification, they all have an option built into their dashboard where they can quickly share their certification on their LinkedIn profile. A lot of them have been really happy about that, something that's kind of lets them stand out from the rest of the crowd. So that's something that they've shared with me, that it was easy to share, that they've completed the certification and they're happy about that.
Cool. Well, Tugs and Adrian Smith, great to catch up with you. Tugs, great to have you back on the pod. Adrian, welcome to the pod. Hopefully this will not be your last time.
Definitely.
But this has been a fabulous chat. And very, very, very last question, I promise right now. If anybody listening wants to find out more about the certification, how can they do so?
The easiest way to find out about the certification is atacglobalcx.com. All the information is there, available right there on our main page. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us directly. Our email contacts are there as well.
Thanks for listening to the CX Files podcast. We really appreciate your feedback and suggestions. You can reach myself, Mark Hillary, or Peter Ryan via LinkedIn. Please also leave a rating or review on your favorite podcast provider, as that helps more people to find us. As always, we'd like to thank Chris Haig at Traction Media for the CX Files graphics. See you next week.
This week's sorry, I'll flub that up. All right, start again. Okay. There's always, that's a mulligan. All right.